And now for a look at the week in athletics, we introduce Sean Sullivan with Sportacus.
Not this week, JR. As great as sports are, and they're great, there are bigger issues than just the games. Presenting the first and hopefully not the last edition of Sean Sullivan with Courtacus. Yeah. Stayed up all night making that. Let's start local. Mansfield is the famous home of Mansfieldians, specifically their football team. Winners of 6 consecutive Hockomock League championships. But this week, just as the playoffs kicked off, the Massachusetts Interscholastic Athletic Association, or stepped in and threw a flag, forfeiting the upcoming semifinal against Bishop Feehan on the grounds that Mansfield had used an ineligible player in 2 games this season. The player, whose identity has not yet been revealed, only hit the field for 7 plays at the end of blowouts. However, Mansfield fought back and forced overtime, or an injunction, in Taunton Superior Court to play their scheduled Tuesday night game. The meow responded the way a Massachusetts governmental organization should. It did absolutely nothing. So the 2 teams finally hit the field Tuesday night for a 22-6 Mansfield rout. Now, they lost the Super Bowl today, but it wouldn't have mattered because if they won, the investigation would have revealed the player ineligible, the Hornets would have been stripped of the state title, and it would have been given to the rightful champion who won today, the Detroit Lions, who have been a solid high school team for well over a decade now. Now, moving on to professional teams. A federal judge, presumably with nothing better to do than help out his own fantasy team, has blocked 5 possible NFL suspensions this week. The players were going to be booted for using a diuretic that not only contained a steroid masking agent, but itself produced enough urine to dilute the drug content for tests. Now, I hope the league heads to court and finally takes on those who abuse the system and are nothing but a burden to the game. Of course, I'm talking about people who pee too much. Take an average football player. He's 6'4", 250 pounds, filled with more liquid and dietary supplements than Jamba Juice. Have you been behind them in a bathroom line? They take like 4.5 minutes. With a diuretic, that's like a 20-minute pee. No stadia in the country have either facilities to accommodate the raw flushing power or the army of custodians who would have to deal with the pre-flush overspillage. I know. So, by fixing the leak in the leak abuse systems, the NFL can send out a clear message to its players and the young kids who admire those players so much. If you have an urge to cheat the system, hold it in. Now to a law and the real news. President Bush recently renewed the Americans with Disabilities Act. Back in 1990, the landmark piece of legislation opened up doorways to athletics everywhere. And who better an example of its successes than this man right up here? Sports Illustrated's new Sportsman of the Year, Michael Phelps. The Super Swimmer's 8 gold medals in Beijing proved the act flat out worked. Now, as a young man, Michael got the access to pools and coaching that boys like him would not have had a generation earlier. So congratulations, Michael.
I sort of don't really want to go here, but Sean, are you implying that Michael Phelps has a disability?
Jared, look at him. He's mentally good. Is he even like half?
Half.
Okay, all right. Not retarded.
Yeah, he's.
Okay. I'm sorry. I feel so embarrassed right now. I have that really embarrassed feeling like you get with your friends when you're in a Midtown Manhattan nightclub and you're wearing sweatpants and you bring a loaded .40 caliber Glock in the waistband of your sweatpants just in case because you hear it was no cover with a Glock night. And as you're walking, you're holding a drink and you hear your name and you turn around. It might just be someone talking about plastics and you pivot and you spill your drink everywhere and you have to get a new drink. And meanwhile, your pivoting causes the Glock to dislodge from your sweatpant waistband and fire 1 round directly into the fleshy part of your thigh. And then as you bleed and your friend takes you to the hospital, you say you're just going to make a joke out of it and tell the doctor your name is Harris Smith, sir. But he recognizes you, and the next day you're facing weapons charges and 4 years because the mayor's revolved a significant amount of time in public policy around the notion that people do stupid things with handguns. And the whole time you were at the club, you should have been at a New York County clerk's office registering the weapon for concealed carry in the first place. You've all been there.
Sean Sullivan, Sportacus.